Parkinson's disease by David Boeth, Victoria Nolan, and Summer Stevens. Cell-to-cell communication. Reception occurs when the signaling molecule, the ligand, binds to the receptor protein, D1 and D2 dopamine receptors in this case, changing its shape. Once the signal is received, it is relayed to the target molecules inside the cell via the protein kinase cascade, where phosphate groups are added to each kinase by cyclic AMP in order to modify them. This is transduction. Response occurs after the signal is received. This can trigger any number of cellular processes depending on what the signal was meant to accomplish.
In normal functioning cells, local signaling of dopamine between brain cells, or neurons, occurs specifically in the substantia nigra section of the brain here, where movement is controlled. In local cell signaling, dopamine sends messages to its target cells across chemical synapses and plays an important role in basic motor functions. You will soon see that Parkinson's disease greatly affects this role. Zooming in, the neurotransmitter dopamine is transported by synaptic transmission, which is when it's released from one neuron, and the signaling molecule binds to specific receptors of a targeted neuron close by. The message is then passed on. Unlike a normal cell, a system affected by Parkinson's is unable to transmit the typical supply of dopamine between neurons. This is due primarily to a genetic mutation of the genes PARK2 and SNCA. To understand the effects they have on the system, you must first understand the original functions of these genes. SNCA produces the protein alpha-synuclein, which is located at the tip of neurons and maintains and regulates synaptic vesicles in presynaptic terminals that release the neurotransmitters like dopamine. The PARK2 gene produces Parkin protein that targets damaged or unneeded proteins and breaks them down using ubiquitin molecules. Within Parkinson's disease, the alpha-synuclein protein is misfolded, disrupting its original function. A mutilated Parkin protein wrongfully binds to the functional protein endothelin A, which regulates trafficking during the synaptic transmission and also leads to the accumulation of misfolded proteins. Together, these mutations form Lewy bodies, which are large clumps of proteins that disrupt the pathway of the dopamine to its target cell, not allowing as many dopamine to pass and creating an error in the reception of the hormone in the cell signaling system. The blocked and buildup of dopamine eventually stops the production of dopamine in that cell, and the dopamine-producing cell will die, further decreasing the transportation of the hormone. So where does this disease come from? Although the official cause of the mutations of the disease are unknown, risk factors and family lineage have been identified as contributing towards possessing this disease. Parkinson's disease, when inherited, does so in an autosomal recessive pattern. The mutated genes are found in chromosomes 6 and 4 of DNA. The gene mutation within Parkinson's disease that's passed down by family lineage, or familial, only accounts for about 15% of cases. Most cases of the genetic mutation result from a combination of sporadic sources like age, gender, typically affecting more males than females, exposure to pesticides and neurotoxic chemicals, and continuous concussions, for instance, the late great boxer Muhammad Ali.
The substantia nigra has the greatest effect on symptoms. Compared to a normal, the substantia nigra deteriorates in Parkinson's disease. This causes a lack of dopamine being produced, which ultimately prevents direct motor functions. Without more dopamine present, signals are not traveling quickly, which results in slowed movements or small steps like this individual, and impaired speech. Also, the cells surrounding the thalamus and the globus pallidus interna part of the brain becomes hyperactive, which causes tremors, which you can see here. At the moment, there is no cure for Parkinson's disease, but there are foundations that are raising money to help find one. On the other hand, prescriptions help slow and ease the process. Levodopa, an amino acid that turns into dopamine, is an example, along with dopamine agonist, a drug that mimics the same function as dopamine. In summary, Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder from gene mutation, preventing synaptic transmission of dopamine, a muscle controller. Low dopamine aggravates cells, creating stiffness and tremors. Thanks for watching! By
David Boeth.
Summer Stevens
And Victoria Nolan.